Shiva, I think it is both ideological as well as political differences. Serious political differences are there. Uh, the country is not only Egypt, most of the Arab nations are now virtually divided on two lines. One is on religious line, the other is secular democratic divisions are existing. So some want, especially the youth and urban population wants a secular democratic setup, some which has closer to Indian style of secularism and democracy, which they believe, where they have religious freedom also, where the government is secular and the people are allowed not only observe religion but also celebrate in public, So this sort of setup they want to establish, and their argument is, this type of democracy is working in India, so why can't we have? So these people, the urban population, educated ones, and they see there is some connectivity between modernism and Islam, whereas the Islamists, on the other hand, they see that Islam has solution for all the problems, and they see that the problems can be sorted out only through Islamic by implementing the Sharia laws, So these are the differences, Situation has evolved in a fashion, where there was no choice but Morsi was there. One side was the army-backed candidate was there, other side, the Morsi was there. The Ikhwan Muslimin or Muslim Brotherhood candidate was there. The problem in Egypt is that the urban population, the secular group, or nationalist groups, they don't have a leader, who are suppressed in all the Islamic countries, whereas, suppression of brotherhood has also taken place in Egypt, but they had, the mosque behind them, then the charities were there, they have built up the whole institution around religion, around mosque and charity, underground, that continued to function even during the Nasser's time and after that the Hosni Mubarak's period. Whereas, the liberals have not been able to establish their institutions and they have not been able to come up with the leadership. So this crisis is there. In the past election, Muslim Brotherhood, if you look at the vote back, they don't have more than 15–20% votes, that time. That is mostly in the rural areas and that too upper Egypt. It was a negative vote which Morsi got because people wanted to defeat the army's candidate, Second thing, that everybody was expecting that Morsi would behave in a fashion, will take all the sections of the society and would form some sort of national unity government, that would include liberals and other aspirations. But whereas what has happened, after the election, Morsi started implementing the Brotherhood's agenda, Very extremist groups were appointed as ministers or governors in that. So people have done. Second thing, he did not concentrate on the day-to-day problems like the economic problem or worsening law and order situation. That was another serious problem. And state started collapsing virtually. There was shortage of fuel, there was shortage of electricity. As a result, the industries started closing down. The biggest industry which they have, is cotton industry. Millions of people were unemployed in these sector. Then agriculture has also suffered because the diesel was not available to them. Then prices of essential commodities have soared up to many-fold, and unemployment, especially between the age group of 24, went up to the 40%, unemployed. Then other source of revenue like Suez Canal revenue has come down. The oil revenues were not much, because they were selling it very cheap to Israel. Then other source of remittances were the only things which were coming. Then the other big revenue collector is tourism. Because of consistent conflict and crisis in Egypt, political crisis. So 60% of the hotel cancellations took place. Large number of tourists have stopped coming to Egypt. So as a result, he has not been able to handle these things. by conducting one or two elections, democracy doesn't come. It will take, I think, long time to establish democracy in any country, and it's a very difficult task in Egypt or any, for that matter, any other Arab country where undemocratic regimes are functioning for the last 50 or 60 years. Whether it is Egypt or any other Arab country, we have seen in Syria, we are witnessing in Tunisia and number of other countries. The problem is another function or body which is operating, that is the army. Army is the most powerful institution in all these countries. An army would not allow democracy to establish in these countries. So what I fear, the people, the large majority of people have taken a strategic decision to establish a democracy or establish a modern nation state in these countries. They want democracy, rule of the law, but the problem is army is not allowing. It will take long. This tussle will have just started 2 years back. It will take very long time to settle. And this is going to be very bloody also. The government, I think the army has taken a decision. It will suppress not only the Muslim Brotherhood but also suppress the liberal and secular, because for them liberal and seculars are more dangerous. They will not tolerate. In fact, Morsi was collaborating with the army. Morsi was the one who accepted all the demands of the army. They are already there. This is the problem. The only one institution in the Arab world which is functioning, that is army. And most of these states are failing, right from Pakistan to Morocco. That's why this opposition is emerging everywhere. Some are Muslim, in the name of Islam they are opposing this, others are secular liberal opposition. We are seeing this. So this is a process in which all the Arab states are passing. Some are already, others in places it is underground, and suddenly it comes up, because in a non-democratic setup, in an authoritarian setup, it bursts suddenly. You don't know, when it happens. Army, as long as army is existing, they'll continue. But how long army can control the whole? See, this is a globalized world. Youth is absolutely globalized. Education has spread in this region, and they are determined to have change in these countries, and they believe they can govern much better than the existing regimes. So that's why the Arab Spring has emerged, or Arab uprising came. It is irreversible, it will continue, but my only hunch is, a lot of people will die because they have tolerated such brute regimes for a very long period of time. So Arab will have to pay for this.
And so my last question.
There is, Sheeba, a lot of similarity between Pakistan and Egypt. In both the countries, army continues to play a dominant role, acting as a protector of the state. In Pakistan, it believes, as a guardian of the Islamic state, whereas in Egypt, it acts as a guardian of the secular republic. So a lot of similarities are there. Then second thing, in Egypt also there are many underground extremist organization, militant organization are operating in that sense. They, not only in Egypt, then in the whole region, we see Al-Qaeda is there, we see Al-Shabaab. It's like Afghanistan, Pakistan type of situation is developing in this region. Egypt is one of the most important states of the Arab world. It is the not only populous, the highly educated middle class is there. They have a big infrastructure. It's a cultural capital of the Arab world, and they have done a lot of work on Islamic studies. The institution like Al-Azhar University is also there. So Egyptians have always played a leadership role in the Arab world. It would, if something happens, if forces are destabilized, comes into Egypt, then it will have impact in the whole region, not only in the West Asia but also in North Africa, because Egypt is part of the North Africa, is a strategically located. All these people, the interim government, they are part of the Egyptian establishment, and this establishment, and as well as the Egyptian army, is very close to United States, and the Egyptian army is virtually financed by the Americans. They get almost 1.5 or $2 billion annual as a aid, Egyptian army, for signing the Arab-Israeli peace resolution. So they are getting money. It's financed by. They cannot take any decision without consulting the Pentagon, the Egyptian army. And second thing, that the close ties between America, Egypt and Israel, that will continue among themselves, that is there, and that will continue to exist as long as this military establishment of these. So these people have closer ties with the Western nations, and they have been working in tandem with the army and the American administration. But the interest of the United States in the region, is very important, because they would like to see stability in Egypt and other countries, because this is the region. Suez Canal passes from Egypt, so most of the oil supplies or the supply line, passes, sea lanes passes through Egypt, Suez Canal is one canal which connects the Red Sea with the Mediterranean, which goes to the Europe, So it is a very important region, and they would like peace and stability in it.